Data structures. The logical or mathematical model of a particular organization of data is called a data structure. Now a question arises, why data structures? Data structures provide a means to manage large amounts of data efficiently for uses such as large databases and internet indexing services. Usually, efficient data structures are key to designing efficient algorithms. There are numerous types of data structures, generally built upon simpler primitive data types. Primitive data types may include character, integer, floating point number, Boolean. Now, how to choose data structure? Choice of particular data model mainly depends on two considerations. One is, reflect the actual relationships of the data in the real world. And other is, simple enough so one can effectively process the data. Types of data structures. Data structure are mainly divided into two types: linear and non-linear data structure. Some examples of linear data structure are array, linked lists, stack, queues, etc. Some examples of non-linear data structures are hash map, trees, etc. Arrays. In programming languages, an array is a way of storing same type of data in contiguous memory locations inside computer. An array cannot store different kinds of items. Every item in an array has an index from which it can be accessed. The first item has index 0, the second item has index 1, and so on. Advantage of using array. If we know the index of element, then it can be easily accessed in no time. 2D arrays are used to represent matrices. Disadvantages of using array. When the programmer creates an array, they must give the size of the array. If the programmer wants to store more items, then they must create a new array. This is because the size of an array cannot be changed. Due to contiguous memory allocation, operations like insertions and deletions in between of array are very difficult and time-consuming. Queue. A queue is a linear structure which follows a particular order in which the operations are performed. The order is first in first out, FIFO. This property of queue makes it also useful in following kind of scenarios. When a resource is shared among multiple consumers. A good example of a queue is any queue of consumers for a resource where the consumer that came first is served first. There are two principal operations in queue. First is enqueue, add an item to queue. And other is dequeue, remove an item from queue. Advantages. Very similar to arrays and lists, queue provide a way for users to access different pieces of contiguous data in a first-in first-out manner. It is very easy to access element at top. Disadvantages. Basically you have no access to the elements underneath topmost element. Stack. Stack is a linear data structure, which follows a particular order in which the operations are performed. The order is LIFO, that's last in first out. There are many real-life examples of a stack. Have you ever noticed the recent tabs in your smartphone? That's one of example of stack, as it shows the last recent screen tab there. That's last in first out rule. Stacks have practical uses such as the undo or history. There are two principal operations in stack. Push, which adds an element to the collection. And pop, which removes the most recently added element that was not yet removed. Top represent the topmost element in stack. Advantages of stack are very similar to arrays and lists. Stacks provide a way for users to access different pieces of contiguous data in a last in first out manner. It is very easy to access element at top. Disadvantages of stack are basically you have no access to the elements underneath topmost element. Linked list. Linked list is a linear data structure. Unlike arrays, linked list elements are not stored at contiguous location, and the elements are linked using pointers. In its most basic form, each node contains data and a reference. In other words, a link to the next node in the sequence. There's a head pointer which reference to the first node. And first node stores the any data and the reference of the second node. Similarly, second node stores any data and reference of the third node and so on. But the last node store any data and null in their address field. There are three common types of linked list. Singly linked list, which we have already talked about. Doubly linked list. In doubly linked list, every node has two reference field. One for previous node and other for next node. Circular linked list. In circular linked list, only the difference is that the last node stores the address of first node instead of null. Advantages. Linked list is a dynamic data structure, so it can grow and shrink at runtime by allocating and deallocating memory. So there is no need to give initial size of linked list. Insertion and deletion of nodes are really easier. Unlike array, as size of linked list can increase or decrease at runtime, so there is no memory wastage. Data structures such as stack and queues can be easily implemented using linked list. Disadvantages. Elements or nodes traversal is difficult in linked list. In linked list, reverse traversing is really difficult. In case of doubly linked list, it's easier. But extra memory is required. Hash table. Hash table contains values based on the key. A hash table uses a hash function to compute an index into an array of buckets. Ideally, the hash function will assign each key to a unique bucket. You index elements in an array with a numeric index, but in hash table you index with the key, and key can be characters, integer, or float, etc. Advantages. The main advantage of hash tables over other table data structures is speed. If the set of key value pairs is fixed or known ahead of time, so insertions and deletions are not allowed, one may reduce the average lookup cost by a careful choice of the hash function. Disadvantages. Hash tables are not effective when the number of entries is very small. For certain string processing applications, such as spell checking, hash tables may be less efficient.
Now the question arises, from where I can learn all these great skills to grab highly paid job. Here are some great sites from where you can learn online. Udemy, Udacity, edX, Coursera, and of course YouTube. There are many more listed in description box, so please ensure to check them out. All links are in description box below. Hope you have found this video helpful. If you like it, please hit that like button below. Share among your friends, family, relatives. And don't forget to hit that subscribe button to see more awesome videos. Till then, bye. See you in our next video.